If you enjoy these videos, please be sure to hit the like button below and also hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks. Hi gang, NoPro here with another Emcomm systems training video. Today let's talk about power. I love power. Radios and antennas will do you no good if you can't power them. Now there is a debate on the use of generators in Emcomm that I'll discuss in another video, but for now I'll focus primarily on batteries. Now before we do that, we need to talk about power cable compatibility. There are quite a few connector types out there for 12-volt power. In the past, compatibility was a problem. You needed to use one type for all your equipment and accessories, but sharing with someone else inevitably led to a problem because they weren't using the same connector as you. This problem has mostly gone away thanks to Anderson power poles. The Anderson power pole connector is genderless, meaning you can use either end of an extension cord. Now across the nation, Aries has adopted power poles as their standard. Everyone else is following suit. Now don't get me wrong, power poles are not perfect, but it is a standard. The power pole connectors come in many different colors and can be interlocked in many ways, left or right, up or down. The Aries standard calls for the red positive connector to be on the left side when looking into the end, and the black negative connector to be on the right. One of the neat things about the system is the use of color coding. For example, power coming from my solar panel varies in voltage until it reaches the charge controller. Now I substitute a yellow for the red on this cable to identify it as so. You could also use different colors and stack them up and down for use in an antenna rotor controller cable. It's pretty neat. If you're not using this system, I recommend you convert to it. Now let's talk about batteries. My first idea of a battery box came to me when I was flying. I was using a new portable Garmin GPS unit. The rental aircraft I was flying didn't have a 12-volt accessory outlet, so I had to rely on the GPS's internal battery. Well, 20 minutes before landing, it of course ran out of power, leaving me to scramble for my charts. Right then I realized I needed some type of external battery I could take with me. I didn't just want to lug around a raw battery, so I thought about putting it into some type of container. When I was shopping for a battery at the electronics store, there was a display of these Pelican-like cases on sale. There was one that would just fit my needs, so I bought it and mounted a couple of external connectors. So this is my first Emcomm battery box. It's an older battery case that has served me well for years, but it's a big, heavy beast. The 55 amp hour AGM battery is bulky and heavy, but notice I did put power pole connectors on it. I'm a big believer in canned juice, that is, battery boxes. You can have far more flexibility using these as opposed to mounting batteries directly inside radio boxes. The nice thing about battery boxes is the ability to remote connections to the outside of the box. This allows for rapid setup. When my group first started making these boxes, no one ever heard of them. As people saw them, they were impressed and spread the word. Now everyone seems to be using them in some form or another. I even see several commercial companies that are now building them as well. Ah, if we'd only patented them. My first attempt at a battery box was this one. It's a 35 amp hour AGM battery in a 50 caliber plastic ammo box. Now you could simply drop a battery into a box and throw in a couple of cables and call it a day. The problem with that is that every time you want to use it, you'll need to open the box and make the connections. You'll then need to leave the box open while using it. Now this is not the most efficient or effective way to do things. Remember, in Emcomm we want to make as few connections in the field as possible, ensuring rapid deployment. Now in this box I installed an on-off switch along with Anderson power pole connectors and a thumb warmer. You know, an auto plug cigarette lighter socket. I also added a USB charger port and a voltage meter. This was not a bad first attempt. The wiring inside is rather simple. We go from the positive pole of the battery to a main fuse. We then go down to the first Anderson power pole, which is on the side of the case. That then goes to the second Anderson power pole, which is on the top of the case, which then wires over to the cigarette lighter socket. That then goes over to the switch. I put the switch after everything because everything past this draws power continually. That then goes over to the USB charger and finally over to the battery meter. The one thing about this case that kind of concerns me is it seems a little too easy to pop these open, causing a problem. So to solve that, I simply put a couple of these little carabiners on. Problem solved. After using this box for a while, I discovered the magic of LiFePO4 batteries. Lithium iron phosphate. That's iron, not ion. If you don't know, there are many types of battery chemistries out there and a lot of great videos on the subject, so I won't go into any detail here. Suffice to say that LiFePO4 batteries have all the benefits of lithium-ion batteries without all the dangers. A LiFePO4 battery can be fully discharged without damage, so using a 20 ampere-hour one is the same as using a 40 ampere-hour AGM battery, plus it's half the weight. Although a bit pricey, I highly recommend them. My go-to juice box has a 20 ampere-hour LiFePO4 battery in a 30 caliber plastic ammo can. Like the previous unit, I added Anderson power poles, an auto plug, a USB charger, and a power switch. I also added a remote jack to allow for charging the battery without removing it from the case. I found a small battery management unit on eBay. This unit tallies battery usage and gives you an accurate indication of power left. If you plan on building one of these, let me show you a little trick. The power switch is surface mounted on the box. You know, I was a little concerned about accidentally hitting it and shutting off the power. Definitely not good. I searched all over for a panel-mounted switch that had some type of protection. As I described what I was looking for, I kept describing the same thing. Eventually, I realized, that I could make a shroud myself that would protect the switch. The answer? A half-inch ring of either half-inch or three-quarter-inch PVC pipe epoxied around the switch. You can easily stick your finger inside to move the switch, but you can't accidentally bump it off, or on for that matter. Taking a look at the inside of this case, again we have a little bit of room in here for some extra cables and accessories, the battery, and the wiring. Here's a close-up of the plugs and switches. First I have the Anderson power pole, the USB connector, 12-volt cigarette lighter connector, the battery management system, the charge point, and here is the power switch. Note the little ring. This is what I was talking about, the shroud. This is a half-inch PVC, cut about a half-inch ring, painted and then epoxied in. No way you can turn that off accidentally. My latest juice box is what I call the 50-50. It's a 50 ampere-hour LiFePO4 battery in a 50 caliber plastic ammo can. This small package replaces a huge 100 ampere-hour AGM battery with far less weight. Now I installed a Buddy Pole Power Mini unit into the case. This unit senses both battery usage and charge to give you accurate information about the battery. It also has a solar charge controller built into it. If we take a look at the inside of this unit, we'll see there's not a whole lot of extra room in here. Here's the Buddy Pole Power Mini, the main battery, and then I've protected all of the connections. This is how I mounted the Buddy Mini. Here's a close-up of the switch assembly that I created. First I have the Anderson power poles, I have the USB charger, I have the thumb warmer. Here I have the solar input, note the yellow connector instead of red. Here I have the charge in, I chose blue to denote the charger. Here is the power switch, and here is an example of the shroud that I created. This is 3/4 inch PVC, about a half an inch, that I just painted and epoxied in. Since there really isn't a lot of storage space inside the 50-50 can, I decided to take a cloth accessories bag and clip it on the outside so that it's always available. Inside here I have the jumper cables as well as two distribution hubs. The first one is Anderson power pole. It's 6-way, so I have 6 taps on here. The second one is an inline USB multi-tap. This is in line with Anderson power poles on both sides, and then 4 separate USB outs for power. Now these are a full 3 amps each, not 2.4, not the 1.2. These are a full 3. So this is really a great product to have. Remember, the key to modularity is bringing what you need, not everything you own. I also have solar charging capabilities. This is a 27-watt panel with charge controller. This is a monocrystalline panel. It's stored in my accessories bag that I always take with me on deployment. My latest acquisition is a military-grade folding solar panel. This PowerFilm F16-7200 is a compact unit that can develop 120 watts of power. It's made of amorphous thin film cells. It is thin, lightweight, easily packable. Although it takes up a larger footprint than a monocrystalline panel, it's far more efficient and has far superior performance when shadows cross over it. It can also take a beating. Unlike other types of panels, if one cell is damaged, it does not seriously degrade the output. Let's take a look at the test. In addition to these juice boxes, I also have a small Honda generator that I can deploy if needed. Now, one additional item that really should be with you, or at least in your car, is an AC distribution kit. Now, I made this one using an automotive jumper cable carrying case. It contains an extension cord and assorted adapters. Although you cannot count on it, AC power just might be available to you. You'd feel pretty frustrated knowing that an outlet was just out of reach of your station. Like we discussed in the radios and antennas videos, having different battery boxes and power capabilities will give you a great amount of flexibility to fine-tune your deployments. Again, you want to customize your response to be most effective without being overburdening. That's the key to Emcomm systems. Until next time, this is Christopher, No Pro. Have a nice day and be safe out there.